Right, good morning, grade 11s. I hope that you have been coping with all the work that you have done so far in finance. Just to recap, yesterday we looked at how we are changing the timelines that we have done in grade 10 now in grade 11. And we looked at the first one, which was withdrawals and deposits. And remember, each withdrawal and deposits creates a new term, but now with the nominal interest rate, you need to remember that you take your interest rate and divide it with whatever is with the nominal period, and you times the amount of years by the nominal period as well. So today we're going to look at the second timeline that you did in grade 10, but now we are also going to add nominal interest rates to it. Okay, so changing interest rates. So if I deposit 18,000 Rand, that means that my T0 is 18,000. Right. For 7 years, that means my timeline will have to go up to T7. The interest rate for the first 2 years is 8%. So the first 2 years is 8%, but most importantly, it is compounded quarterly, which means my 8% must be divided by 4. For the next 3 years, so 1, 2, 3, so up to T5, for the next 3 years, my interest rate was 9.5%, compounded semi-annually, which means that 9.5% happened twice a year. All right. For the remaining period, the interest rate drops to 7.5%. So the remaining time is for 2 years, then 7.5%, but it was compounded monthly. Right. Now when I look at my timeline, do you notice that I do not have any deposits or withdrawals in there? So what does this tell you? This tells you that I'm going to set up one term. There's no plus or minus signs, only one term. So 18,000 was my deposit. Right. So my deposit for the first 2 years was 8%, but it had to be done quarterly. So 2 times 4 is 8. My second was 9.5% semi-annually. So for 3 years, 3 times 2, so twice a year gives me 6 years. And then the last one was 7.5% done monthly. So in 2 years, there is 24 months. Right. Slot it in on your calculator. That is for later. And you should be getting 32,354.86. Please, grade 11s, I cannot stress this enough, that you do need to practice using this on your calculator. You do need to check your answers. That's what I would have done in class. Don't just look at it and think, oh, okay, it's easy, I can do it. Actually do it. Take your calculator, enter it in. I need to make sure you know how to use your calculator. Right, so that's the second type of timeline that you can get with nominal effective interest rate, or nominal interest rates. Oh my goodness. Right, so moving on to the next one. And that is where you have a combination of withdrawals and deposits and changing interest rates. So it's the first 2 timelines that you have done in one. Now this is seen as a complex procedure. Right, the chances of you getting this is slim, but if I do need marks to increase the difficulty of my paper, this is what I'm going to give you. And you do need to be able to do that. Right. So before we start with this question, you will notice if you look at the calculation, is that there is a lot of digits that needs to be entered into your calculator for you to do this question. Now this question is still fine, but when you do get more deposits or withdrawals, it means that your calculator is actually going to run out of space and you will not be able to enter the entire expression into your calculator. It won't allow you because there's not enough digits available. So for those especially who does AP Maths as well, there is a store function on your calculator. We will get to that now, just so that you know I'm going to do this both ways. Okay, I'm going to do it first the normal way, and then I'm going to show you how to store things on your calculator and only use single letters. Right, but let's get back into it. So if I have a combination sum and they say to me deposit 5,700 Rand, that means my T0 is 5,700. 2 years later, another 1,900 Rand. So at T2, I'm going to add 1,900 Rand. A final deposit of 4,100 Rand is made 5 years after. So at T5, I have plus 4,100. For the first 3 years, the interest rate, first 3 years, I have 13% compounded quarterly. So first 3 years, 13% every quarter. And then it is decreased to 11.5% compounded monthly. So for the remainder of this investment, it's 11.2% every month. Right, so this timeline has to go up to 8 years. Now let's talk about what we see on this timeline. Do you notice with 5,700, 1,900 and 4,100 that you have to have 3 terms in your setup? Okay, now let's talk about each amount. So when I look at the 5,700 Rand, it was part of the 13% quarterly, but it was also part of the 11.2% monthly. Right, so how long? Quarterly for 3 years and 11.2% monthly. And how long is it? Well, if the first 3 years is 13%, the investment is 8 years in total. So 3 years at 13%, that means 12 years. Okay, at 12 years. 5 years at monthly 11.2%. Right, let's look at the 1,900. Now the 1,900 was part of the 13% investment for 1 year, and then it was part of the 11.2% for 5 years. So 13% for 1 year, but it had to be done quarterly. 11.2% for 5 years, but it had to be done monthly. Right, if I look at 4,100, 4,100 was only exposed to the 11.2%. For how long? Well, it was made in the 5th year, so it only had 3 years. But for 3 years, the interest rate was done monthly. Right, so to save some space on my calculator, I am going to say my first bracket, 3 times 4 is 12. My second bracket, 5 times 12 is 60. Then I have 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 12 is cut off. That is a 60. 5 times 12 is 60. And then 3 times 12 is 36. Right. So let's have a look how I'm going to enter this into my calculator. So 5,700, 1 plus 13% at a quarterly basis, and that was to the power of 12. And then I have 11.2% done at a monthly basis, and that was for 60 months. Then I have 1,900, and that was done at 13% every quarter for 4. Okay, and I have 1 plus 11.2%, and that was at every month and to the power of 60. Okay, plus 4,100. Now look at that. Do you see I cannot carry on because my calculator has run out of digits for me to use? Do not stress, because you can simply go and say, hold on, take away, so stop there, press equal, and I have to add 4,100 that was exposed to 11.2% on a monthly basis, and that happened for 36 months. Then I get 24,108.19. Okay, now some of you at this point where your calculator runs out of digits go into a complete panic, because what am I supposed to do? Now there is a function on your calculator that you can make life very easy for yourself. So let's quickly look at that. So I'm just going to rewrite this, and I am going to see that I'm working with 5,700. That was 0.13 over 4 to the power of 12, and 1 plus 0.112 over 12 to the power of 60. If I add 1,900, that was also exposed to 13% every quarter to the power of 4, and 11.2% on a monthly basis to the power of 60, and then I had 4,100 Rand, and that was exposed to 11.2%, and that was done monthly to the power of 36. Okay, so do you notice that I have 1 plus 0.13 over 4 that repeats itself, and I have 11.2% over 12 in each deposit that was made? Okay, so I can now, by doing the following. Right, so I'm going to say, number 1, I'm going to enter 1 plus 0.13 over 4 and press equal. So 1 plus 0.13 over 4, press equal. Okay? Then I am going to press Shift followed by the recall button. So there's a STO that stands for store. So Shift, store, and then I can press the button that has the minus, but in red there's a A. And it tells me that my answer I got for this is now stored as A. So that is now represented by A. Then I'm going to say clear. And I'm going to repeat myself. I'm going to say enter 1 plus 0,112 over 12, and I'm going to press the equal sign. 1 plus over 12, press the equal sign, followed by Shift and the store button, Shift, store. And now I've used A, so the next button is the one that geography use a lot. There's a B at the top, which tells me my answer is now stored as B. So 1 plus 0,112 over 12 is now represented by B. So in my calculation, I am basically going to enter the following. I'm going to say 5,700 A to the power of 12 B to the power of 60 plus 1,900 A to the power of 4 B to the power of 60 plus 4,100 B to the power of 36. Right, so just keeping my color scheme here. Those of you that know me knows that I am a visual learner and I like putting color to my work because then it makes more sense to me. Right, so let's see if I do this. Let's keep it there. 5,700. Now I'm going to use alpha, and I'm then going to press my A option. 5,700 alpha A, and A is to the power of 12. Do that on your calculator. Now to get B, I'm going to press my alpha button, and I am then going to press my B option. Alpha B, and B is to the power of 60. Plus 1,900 alpha A, and A must be to the fourth exponent, and alpha B, B is to the power of 60. Plus 4,100, and that was only B, and B is to the 36. By doing this, I have enough digits on my calculator to enter the equation, and look at this. 24108.19. Let's compare the two. Do you see? Exactly the same answer. Right. So, what am I going to do? I am going to go to exercise 12.4, and I'm going to do number 1, 2, 4, 7, and 10. Right, so for some of you, you will now ask me, how am I going to clear if I get to my next sum? How am I going to clear what was saved for A and what was saved for B? You don't. You basically go and save over it again. So in your next question, when you add your new storage to A and your new storage to B, it will simply overwrite what you have had. So you don't have to clear the values of A and B, if that makes sense. Right, enjoy. This is basically almost the last finance lesson, the last bit of work you need to be able to do. Tomorrow and the rest of the time, or tomorrow you will have a day to catch up. Friday you will receive a worksheet, and Monday you will receive a worksheet to experience how it is asked in an exam. Have a nice day, grade 11s. We dearly miss you. Bye.